So hello, it's Mike from Bearmark. I know it's been a while. Yeah, I haven't changed a thing. Look at me. Same guy. So anyway, I was talking to my pal the other day, Rosie, down at the Wild Whisk in Wheatland, Wyoming. Speaking of that, if you guys are ever in Wheatland and you're hungry, go by Rosie's. Man, she makes the best sandwiches in the world. I'm serious, in the world. Okay, so I'm talking to Rosie. She's like, hey man, you haven't made a video in a while. I was like, nah, took a break. She's like, oh, okay, you gotta make another one. I was like, all right, man, what do you want a video on? She's like, ballistics. Ballistics, you say? All right, I'll make one on ballistics. So here you go. All right, ballistics, the science or the study of a projectile as it flies through the air. Sounds interesting, right? Well, it is interesting, and I find some of that stuff fascinating. For example, you take a bullet, and you take a rifle with the same sort of bullet, right? And you're like 4 feet off the ground. We like 4 feet because it's simple and 4 feet. So you drop this bullet, shoot that bullet, and they're gonna hit the ground at the same time. Isn't that cool? Yeah, right? This one you drop, it's gonna be at your feet. This one you shot, it's gonna be hundreds of yards downrange, but it's still gonna hit the ground at the same time, right? Because of that velocity. Cool thing is that, let's see, gravity pulls you down, or you fall at 32 feet per second. Well, those objects fall at 32 feet per second no matter how fast they're going. So the faster you make that bullet go, the further it will go before it hits the ground at the same time you drop this one. So cool stuff, man. At least I think so. All right, so ballistics. There's what they call ballistic coefficient, right? And that is essentially the ability that a bullet has, or the property of a bullet, that allows it to shed or reduce drag, right? So you don't want a lot of drag on a bullet, that you want it to go a long ways. Yeah, there's a couple factors to that. Bullet shape and sectional density, right? Okay, so I have a couple of things here. All right, this is a 6.5 Grendel. I love the Grendel. All right, you see the shape of this bullet, nice and pointy, right? And then back here somewhere is the back end of the bullet, the base of the bullet. And it's a boat tail, right? So instead of looking flat like this, it's kind of narrowed off at the end. And what that does is, well, when it's flat like this, it creates a lot of turbulence, right? As that arrow goes through, as that bullet goes through the air. When you narrow that down, there's a lot less turbulence back here, a lot less drag, right? So the more turbulence, more drag. Pointy, no drag. All right. Conversely, look at that fat boy, 45 ACP. Hit that big fat mass right there. All right, yeah, you can see when this one goes through the air, there's a lot of surface area right here for friction to happen, right? That drag, that air pushing on that bullet's going to slow it down really fast because it's so fat. All right, so we got bullet shape, right? Let's look at sectional density. Sectional density is essentially the mass behind the point, right? So if you want a high sectional density, you want all of your mass in as small as area as possible behind that point, right? Because it doesn't matter what the weight is, it's the density of it, right? Because you got 230 grains here, you got 123 grains here, yet this one has a much higher sectional density because all of its mass is all squeezed out behind it, nice and narrow. This one, that bullet's only, what, that long? So all your mass is in a larger circumference around the point. So the smaller the circumference around the point, the better the sectional density is. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. Anyway, so, all right, the best calibers for a high ballistic coefficient. For some reason, in our little world here, physics says that between 6 and 7 millimeter, and this is in the caliber and weight of the bullets that we want to shoot, right? So I mean, we could have this giant bullet this long with an awesome ballistic coefficient sectional density, but how in the world are you going to shoot that thing without blowing your shoulder off, right? So we don't like recoil. I mean, there's some guys like, oh, I don't care about recoil. Well, I don't like recoil at all. I'm a big wuss when it comes to recoil. So the lighter the recoil, the better, right? So between 6 millimeter, 7 millimeter, That's the magic area where ballistic coefficiencies are pretty high. 6.5 being right in the dead center, right? So there's your sweet spot. 6.5 Grendel, 6.5 Creedmoor, 6mm bench rest, 6.5 PRC, 7mm PRC. I mean, all that stuff. Those bullets, very high ballistic coefficients. Now, what that does for you, again, is you have less drag and better energy, because all that energy is behind the point. All that mass is right there behind the point. So when you shoot it, it doesn't lose its velocity and it carries its energy very well downrange where you want that energy. All right. There's my video on ballistics. I'll make another one pretty soon. Hey, see you guys later.